3, 2, 1. Gabe Garcia, what's up, brother?
What's up, man?
So, how I originally met you was you were doing cigar pairings with the La Muerta, the Freetail.
Yeah.
The Freetail pairings at the Growler Exchange.
Sounds about right. We've done a few, yeah.
So how did that start? First, before we get it too in depth with the cigar knowledge in general, but the pairings, how did that start out?
I think they approached me one day when I was there hanging out drinking. I guess beer and cigars are like two of my main hobbies.
Those are some good hobbies to
yeah.
have.
And I introduced myself, told him who I was, what I did. And then he brought up pairings, and I was like, yeah, I've always wanted to do that. And I've done it maybe once or twice here or there, and they've seemed to be the most reliable people to want to do it and open to doing it. So
they were intrigued by it. So there's clearly it's like much of before we get too in depth of this, Gabe owns Cigar Point, which is over here off 1604 in Blanco. How long have you had the shop open?
I guess it's like 8.5 years now. Opened in August of 2009.
8.5 years.
Yeah.
So you're doing something right.
Doing something right. Kind of capturing the boutique cigar aspect of cigars. I guess boutique cigars would be, for people that don't know, would be more like the craft beer side of beer. Boutique cigars would be that in the cigar world.
Yeah, it's about appreciating the product and presenting it in a
quantity,
artistic way.
Quality over quantity.
Right.
Some cool stuff. I mean, there's still a lot of crap out there too. So, I mean, I kind of try to be that filter. I feel like my palate's good enough to try some stuff and be like, yeah, I think this will work in the shop, and blast it on Instagram, my website, Facebook, and get people to come in and try it.
So, like, with someone like me, which smoking cigars, there is, like, this nostalgic quality about smoking cigars. It is intriguing.
Yeah.
Just, in fact, we can look at movies or social fucking stigmas, whatever you want to say. We can look at those, and for some reason, smoking's always been this, appealing thing. It has this nostalgia to it. It's kind of beautiful in a way.
Yeah.
And when I say smoking, I don't mean we're not James Dean smoking cigarettes here.
Right.
It's there's this appealing aspect to it, this artistic aspect to it. And then when you kind of dive into cigars and getting smoking your first cigar, it's kind of hard when you see there's so much out there. How did you get started with diving into cigars, developing your palate, and getting to a point where you were comfortable opening up a shop?
Well, man, this was a long time ago now. So, just cigars and back then pipe tobacco were both interesting to me. I don't smoke pipe tobacco. I don't sell any of that stuff. It's all cigars. But one day I finally just decided to go into it, and I went to a cigar shop and I bought one and smoked it, and I enjoyed it, and I stuck with it. And I remember when I was a kid, going over to my grandparents' house. My grandpa wasn't necessarily really a big cigar smoker. He would smoke cigars, he would smoke pipe, and those smells, those aromas of the two types of tobacco were very nostalgic, and I liked it. And I mean, yeah, I guess there was, especially more towards the beginning, there was, I don't know, I guess you kind of feel cool smoking a cigar in a way. It's different. Not a lot of people do it. Not a lot of people appreciate it. Not a lot of people know how hands-on and how handmade the industry is. People, sometimes people will come in and they want a hand-rolled cigar. I mean, that's basically everything I sell. Every single aspect.
Right.
Yeah, every single aspect of the cigar, from the box to the growing, I mean, it's all handmade. There's nothing automated about it. From the fermentation, the curing, the rolling, the molds, even putting the bands on, putting the cellophane on. I mean, there's somebody physically doing that to every single stick and putting them in the boxes and sealing them.
Well, then you're shit with the direction of fucking our culture now with technology in our society. You're pretty set then, because like you said, this our society is heading in a direction of almost complete automation. You give it
Right.
another 50 years, half of the jobs that exist now don't. But what's special about smoking cigars is that personal touch, is that artistic factor.
Yeah.
It is, it's an art form.
Right.
And the people that create these good quality cigars that you would sell here, that you appreciate, that, you understand, that's the real art form that's going to stick around,
Yeah.
and that's going to be sustainable for you to keep up this business, which is beautiful. But, I mean, as far as the palate goes,
Yeah.
you like anybody else, you're a human, and anything that you start out and you don't have this basic foundation of knowledge to really dive into something like smoking cigars,
Yeah.
is it just depend on time and experience? When I say experience, is just trying different cigars. Like, how do you develop that palate for cigars?
I mean, I feel like with cigars or even beer and whiskey, the first few you try, a beer is going to taste like a beer. Bourbon's going to taste like bourbon. A cigar is going to just taste like a cigar. And the more you smoke, the different things you smoke, you just develop it. And then it eventually comes, and then it comes to a point to where, somebody can give me a cigar, or you could smoke a cigar and you can tell if it's, if you can tell if it's Nicaraguan, you can tell if it's Honduran, Dominican Republic tobacco. And there's really nothing, like, I can't tell you, like, these flavors are Nicaraguan and these flavors are Dominican. I don't think it's that simple, but there's just something about the tobacco, even the way it burns, the way it feels, like you can tell where it comes from.
So, clearly with, so if we're going to talk, like plants-wise, like the tobacco plant, how many different species of the tobacco plant are there?
There's a lot. And then there's cigarette tobacco varietals, there's pipe tobacco varietals, there's cigar tobacco.
Does the cigar industry, are they focusing on certain species of the tobacco plant?
Certain species of tobacco plant are used solely for, or majority for cigars. Like Connecticut broadleaf is one. It's a seed varietal that kind of originates from the Connecticut area. But it can also be grown in other countries and other regions, and sort of similar to wine or even coffee. The climates and the soils have their unique properties to the different, like Connecticut broadleaf grown in Connecticut or grown in, sometimes they grow in Nicaragua. San Andreas has their own, and that's a Mexican wrapper. It's a wrapper leaf grown in Mexico. It's a San Andreas wrapper. It has its own unique things. Mexico has their own way of curing. So does like the tobacco that comes out of Brazil, Nicaragua.
So is it more of the climate that can affect the taste of a specific tobacco leaf, or is it the process?
It's kind of all of it, man. The climate, the
It's the whole
soil, even the drying, the curing methods, the fermentation time. Like a Maduro.
By fermentation, that's like there's an aging of the leaf?
The tobacco is aged. Like, they're aged in these big piles. They're called pilones. And it ferments. And there's, and it generates heat, just like, I guess, any other type of fermentation. I assume. I don't know.
Sort of a generalization there, bro.
I think so. But
sort of a generalization.
So, like, there's people that go through the pilones, and the tobacco in the center gets switched with the tobacco on the outside, and the outside goes to the center. That way they can keep the fermentation as even as possible, because the heat comes from the
rotating.
middle. Yeah, rotating. And the longer time, like a Maduro wrapper is typically what is considered Maduro. That undergoes a longer fermentation time than, say, like a natural wrapper, or there's so many different grades, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's whatever.
It's a fucking an extensive art form. That's what it
is.
I like how you related it to because I'm a huge coffee drinker.
Yeah, so am I.
Definitely way more than a cigar smoker. I'm a coffee addict.
Yeah.
And it comes down to this. It comes down to this kind of lifestyle. It's not so much like when I hear people, they'll drink coffee and they'll be like, "Oh, I can't drink more than a cup of coffee. I'll get all wiry." I'm like, "What are you talking about, dude? I can drink fucking coffee before I go to sleep." It's
Right,
not about
so can I.
much
Yeah.
of. It's not about. Look, I can wake up after a night of getting hammered and doing terrible decisions, and then chug 48 ounces of coffee. it's not waking me up. I'm drinking coffee because I enjoy the taste,
Right. So
and
do
I
I.
enjoy, and it's just a part of my life. It's a habit. You know, it's become a habit.
It's a habit.
In a
It's
way
a routine.
that, right?
Yeah.
It's a routine. But when you say habit, sometimes people like to put these negative
Doesn't have to be
connotations on
negative,
it.
right?
I just enjoy the routine of drinking coffee, and I
Right.
know that it's. I mean, coffee necessarily is not bad for you. It's what you put in coffee that's
Right.
bad for you.
Yeah.
So if you're just drinking the coffee and you're absorbing the coffee beans and the natural antioxidants in coffee,
Right.
then there are positive things that happen. I mean, you can take too much caffeine. That's
Yeah.
you know, that's kind of bad, but you'll sleep it off
Anything
and
in
it'll be
excess
fine.
is bad, right?
Exactly,
I mean,
right.
yeah. I mean, I guess I could throw in coffee with one of my big hobbies. I guess hobby is the right word with beer, cigars, coffee. I mean, my morning starts with, I get up, get ready to get out of the house, and I stop and get coffee. I like to go to local coffee, brown coffee, indie, Theory. They all
Theory.
Yeah, Theory's
Woo!
Mark's my boy over there
Mark
at
is
Theory.
doing it right,
yeah.
man.
Mark's great. I think he makes the
I want
best.
to do a podcast with him.
Yeah,
man.
you need to do a podcast with Mark. I think he makes the best cappuccino in town. Even when he started out back at local on Sonterra back in the day.
Yep.
Yeah, he's cool, and his employees are good. I mean, the coffee they use is great.
I mean, and that's sort of a reflection on kind of what you're doing, what your aspirations are. The dude is putting the work in. He's in there and he's doing it,
All
and
the time.
he's put the money into it. And just like you're here. You're fucking. You put the money into it. You're doing it because
Yeah.
you care about
Yeah.
what you're doing, and that's beautiful. I mean, and it's things like that. It's sort of this energy that you can feel off people like you or like Mark or other people like let's say Marcus from Weathered Souls, who's brewing good, delicious beers.
right.
You can feel that that they care about this. This is a part of their life,
Yeah.
and that's what is appealing. That's that energy that that pulls you to them. That's the reason why I came to do a podcast with
Right.
you. I met you at Growler. We
Yeah.
talked and we laughed a little bit. We drank some beers, got drunk, but it was more than that.
Right.
It's cool that you're into similar things I'm into, which also kind of helps. But
For sure.
there's more to what you do than just walking into a cigar. Oh, it's a cigar shop. We're gonna get drunk this weekend. Let's smoke some cigars. No,
Right.
you have the knowledge and you have the information. You have the experience to let somebody know what they should be smoking or
Right.
why they should be smoking.
Yeah.
So, what would you say when it comes to pairing cigars to food? Can you give me some I mean, it's just it freaks me out because I understand the wine thing. I understand the beer, the craft beer thing. I'm a
Right.
big beer drinker.
Whiskey.
So what are you looking for in cigars? If someone was going to come in here and told you they wanted to pair a cigar with a wine and a dinner, what are these notes and these these palatable fucking references that they can be searching for?
Yeah. Well, I think we can sort of generalize things or simplify things. There's contrasting, and you want contrasting flavors, or do you want similar flavors? I've never done a food and cigar pairing, but we've talked about it.
Does food not really work with cigars?
It does.
I would think a steak and a cigar would be fucking amazing.
I'm friends with the chef at the Granary.
Okay.
He does great barbecue.
Love that place.
Traditional barbecue for lunch, yeah. More progressive style barbecue for dinner. More composed plates, composed flavors. But yeah, we've talked about doing a pairing before. We're going to call it like smoke on smoke, since they do the smoked meats there, and obviously cigars are smoked too.
Right. That's a great name. By the
Yeah.
way.
So yeah, I mean, you always kind of want. I mean, you want some rich, you want some meaty, fatty, smoky. You want something. Also, you're gonna want something acidic on there, and then with the cigars too, you don't want to. You don't want to overpower. I feel like it's easy when you're pairing cigars to overpower everything. The cigar can't overpower the beer or.
Is it because
everything.
is it because that smoke? I mean, in layman's terms, I'm speaking it as a non-experienced person, but that smoke kind of coats your palate.
You're right. It coats. It lingers. And especially, I feel like when you do pairings and stuff, you might not be everybody that's doing it is probably not the most seasoned cigar smoker, which is fine. But I just think it's more, if you don't smoke enough or you don't smoke a lot of cigars, it's more dominant on your palate. You're going to taste it. Some people say that, they'll continue to taste it the whole day, the next day after brushing their teeth.
Right.
And yeah, and then a lot of that comes with just being kind of a noob at it, and that's fine. I mean, so that's what you try to not do when you want to pair. And then you want to have the full stuff for, I feel like, with a food or a drink, like I can pick different cigars. Like if somebody wants to go all in and want something big and rich cigar-wise, like we got that, and we could find something lighter too that's not so dominant on the palate, and just kind of work with it, kind of try to balance everything out. And then at the same time, I mean, a lot of it's just my opinion on, or me and whoever I'm doing the pairing with, like Tim Rattray at the Granary, like
Right.
we would come up with the flavors and the pairings, and hopefully, and I think we're both good at our jobs, and we can do it right. And I really do want to do that someday. Yeah.
That would be very interesting. You know what? Because, man, that's funny that you say that, because I went up to the granary the other day to try to get a hold of Tim. I tried to do.
Yeah.
I would love to do a podcast. And actually, I've been kind of circling the Pearl, because I did a podcast with Les Locke and his protege Brian Southerly.
Right.
And that was last week. I did an episode with them, and they were nice enough to give me their time and do that. And after they gave me their time to do that, I was like, man, I was so pumped on just reaching out past what I know.
Right.
Past what I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
And this is a perfect example. This comes out of that. It's reaching out and talking to people that are, they're an expert in their field. They know what they're doing, and they can give information to people like me or people that listen to the podcast. And that's exactly what I'm trying to capture
Right.
doing this podcast. And like I said, that would be fucking amazing. I mean, that would be amazing. I would think like a bloody ass steak and a fucking cigar would be perfect.
That would be good. Yeah, and he's doing right now, like, I guess the Express News or somebody came out with the top restaurants in San Antonio, and they're in that, but they're doing this steak. It's like 80 plus days dry aged, and I've had one of those from there, and it's an experience. If you've never had a dry aged steak, let alone one that far on the drying aging, like 80 days or whatever,
if you've never seen a dry aged steak,
see the texture when it's
90% of people will just fucking turn their head in fucking repulsion, but you're missing out.
Yeah, it's dank, it's delicious, it's a different texture. I feel like we did some, I think they were 32-ounce steaks for my birthday back in December at the Granary.
Woo!
And they were like 80-day dry aged as well. And I mean, I feel like if you were to blindly taste it, it's like almost has the texture of a pork belly at that age. And of course, I feel like sometimes this sounds off-putting, but it's almost cheese-like in the flavors and the aromas, and the whole room smells like it. I mean, it's an experience.
Well, it's odd because when you specifically talk about red meat, the breakdown of red meat actually produces these enzymes in almost this self-defense mode to preserve the meat, which is why that you can age specifically red meats long, like if you're talking about chicken and turkey, you can't necessarily do that. That's whenever bacteria comes involved. But with red meats, like, I'm sure these enzymes are produced and they protect the meat, and it can be aged for longer. And it actually, much like wine, beer, whiskeys, bourbon, all these other things, produces a different flavor. And cheese too produces a different flavor to where it's a new experience for the palate, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's 32-ounce aged steak, man.
Yeah, it was nice.
That's a good birthday, man.
I think we had 3 of them on the table, and
woo!
Yeah, it was a good birthday. It's sometimes it pays to know people. I mean,
right?
It just those special. I mean, I think he had 4 steaks, and we talked about it. And he's like, "Yeah, I could save those for your birthday." And of course, I think one of the steaks went to the kitchen staff, and then the 3 went to us, and it was a good night. Yeah.
So, on a more personal level, what does Gabe do for fun?
That's an interesting question.
Besides the beautiful shit of smoking cigars and drinking beer and
I
coffee.
feel like we already talked about my fun is essentially smoking cigars, hanging with people.
You want to have less. You want to have less fun now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't go to. I mean, I don't know, drinking beer, hanging with friends. You know, going over to a friend's house or drinking whiskey, eating good food.
It's important to make
Coffee.
those kind of connections, right?
Yeah.
With friends and stuff like that, because in life sometimes you can feel sort of isolated or disenfranchised by the
For sure.
shit that society kind of enforces on you that you don't necessarily have control over. So
For sure.
things
Yeah.
like this, things like drinking and appreciate. I'm not talking about drinking to get drunk and to fall asleep, but appreciating what you're consuming and the art of what
Yeah.
other people are making is a beautiful perspective to have on life.
Right, and I feel like most of my friends over the last 8-9 years, I mean, they've all come from the things that I'm into. I mean, even on Instagram, I've met friends that are good friends now on Instagram through beer or cigars or like local coffee. I mean, I'm a day at the the Sonterra location. I'm there probably
Twice a day.
twice a day. I mean, I'm there, let's say 360 out of 365 days a year. I go every day, every morning. I mean, and that's going there has been a big impact over the last 5 years of my life. We're meeting friends, and I mean, I guess it's almost like for me, it's like my Cheers. Everybody knows me there. I mean, you sit there and I mean, the barista is essentially your bartender, and I mean, you talk and you become friends and tell each other. I don't want to say secrets, but just like what's been going on in your day or your life. I mean, just like I don't go to bars every day, so that's my version of Cheers, I guess.
That's so funny that you say that, man, because I just had a conversation before I came over here about I referenced a place that I normally drink, and when I say drink, a lot of people like to put the period on that right there. Like, oh, you're at a bar and you're drinking, period.
Right.
No. I don't just go drink where I go because, or let's say if it's coffee, or let's say if it's, if I go eat barbecue, like I go to the smoke shack and eat barbecue, I don't go there 3 or 4 times a week just to shove food in my face.
Right.
It's because of the atmosphere. It's because of the connections that I've made. It's because of the people that are around. It's because of the conversations. It's because it's the whole picture that makes it beautiful. And I swear, I just got done saying from, the bar that I just came from, was like, this is like my Cheers. Like, this is my neighborhood spot. This is where I go. And before I went there, they were total strangers. And there's like, sometimes there's like these kind of stigmas around, like these negative stigmas around, beer or smoking or all these other things that, people like to put these negative connotations on. But if you were to understand certain, obviously there's in excess, it's not good. But if people were to understand that these are connections being made and why we do some of these things that we do, because it's beautiful and it's building people, it's introducing us to people, it's making these relations. This wouldn't happen if you never had that cigar pairing at Growler Exchange.
Yeah, I would have never met you.
I would have never known you.
At least not yet.
And so these are the things that, it's putting yourself out there in the world and experiencing things. That's what the beautiful part of it is. And learning things. And it's scary to learn things. It's scary to do things that you don't know about because, some people are assholes, but most people are cool.
Yeah.
And so, I met in you a person that's cool that will sit here and help me out with a cigar and fucking drink some beers, and that's what intrigues me.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful shit right there.
Yeah, I mean, people need to get out of their shell. I mean, so I've made friends that, I'm going to local, but that was my thing.
Right.
So I've been friends with people there for this. It's about 5 years now, but I had been going to local for 6 to maybe 7 years. But initially, I would go, and back then they used to sell beer. So I would go and get a pour over and a beer, and I would go sit, and I really wouldn't talk to anybody. I would just get that, and I would go sit in the back and drink my coffee, and then finish the beer, and then leave. And one evening, I decided to go, and I talked to is this guy. His name's Jason. He was working with Mark for the longest time. He does the pies now. But he was the manager back then at Loco, and I talked to him, and he was really cool. And the other guy that was with him was Jake, and Jake is one of the owners at Indie Coffee now. And they were both really awesome, and we exchanged information. I told him what I actually did, and from then on, I started to sit at the bar and talk to everybody and became friends. And I feel like, I mean, that was me coming out of my shell from back then. And if I would have never done that, I mean, I would have never met those guys. I would have probably never been friends with them or met other people through them. And I'm glad I did, because I do tend to overthink a lot of things, and I feel like I guess everybody does, but I overthink and I overanalyze, and then I end up not doing something, and I feel like eventually, you regret. Not maybe regret's a little strong, but
regret is not strong.
No?
It's so normalized. Yeah. I think it's actually underutilized. People man, I have found in the last 2 years of my life, just analyzing my behavior in my past, that we normalize things way too much. It's actually way more beneficial to approach things in a way, in this nuance, mindset, that, going out and doing things, experiencing new things, we're not necessarily wired to do that.
Right.
In an evolutionary stance, our minds are wired to survive. And survival does not mean seeking out new shit all the time.
Right.
Because there's danger involved. And now we are living in a society where everything is given to us.
Yeah.
We could fucking text an app what our fucking order is, and our order, a food order, and our food order will be at our house in 20 to 30 minutes. We're still catching up on a biological level to our minds. So when you express that, you didn't say scary, but it is scary. It's scary to sit and then talk to a person that you don't know.
It is.
It's
like I guess in the same way, rejection is scary.
Right.
Failure
is scary.
Failure is scary.
So when you just lay that shit down and just fuck it in the face and tell it no, and you just open yourself up to these experiences, then you as a person can grow and progress, and then you can experience new things that you didn't necessarily think you were capable of doing before.
Yeah. And so I don't know if this may sound cheesy to some people, or some people might not like this. I'm going to talk about a band, and they're one of my favorite bands. It's Tool.
Okay.
So like the song Lateralis.
Uh-huh.
I guess more recently I was reading the lyrics, and the song is really awesome. And that whole overthinking, overanalyzing, I mean, that's in the lyrics. It's overthinking, overanalyzing separates the body from the mind, withering my intuition, leaving opportunity denied or behind. And yeah, so I mean, that's exactly right. And that's kind of a positive message. Just don't overthink things. Just do it. Don't be afraid of rejection, or don't be afraid of failure. Like, what happens? I mean, if somebody tells you no, they don't want to be your friend, or they don't want to go out with you, then so what? I mean, it's not that big a deal.
Then fuck them.
Right, exactly.
It's not.
Move on.
Yeah, it's about being so. Sometimes we get so acutely aware of these minor details that we are, that consume our mind, and it's funny because much of those things that we're acutely aware of are negative things.
Yeah.
Which is a survival mechanism that we developed over a fucking long time of fucking trying to, not be eaten by fucking pterodactyls or some shit, It's a fucking way, but it doesn't correspond to today. There are assholes in the world. There are pieces of shit.
Oh yeah.
And when you can put yourself out there, and you can meet people and talk to your people and just open yourself up.
Right.
You have to also understand that it's much of what life is, the yin and the yang. You're going to have negative, you're going to have positive. Fuck the negative.
Right.
You're better than that. If they don't agree with what you're saying, then fuck them. Who gives a fuck?
Agree.
Because you're going to find somebody who's good and cool. And I mean, because I've talked to people. I mean, I've talked to friends. Like, I'm talking about people that I've known for fucking 10 plus years to do the podcast. And I've been turned down by friends, people that I've known to do the podcast, which is so silly to me, you know, because it's just I mean, look at us right now. We know each other, but we're not, you know, we're on somewhat a stranger level, but we're sitting here having a good conversation. You were open to it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we could do this without the podcast.
Exactly.
You know?
We could sit here and drink beers and smoke a cigar without it. But it's just, it's funny that people, I mean, I found myself in my life being stuck in a certain position, a certain mindset that it was overwhelming almost to pull myself out of.
Right.
But I fucking did and smashed in there. Much of like, you know, you were talking about when you were going to get coffee and you didn't talk to nobody, but one day you did. And you opened yourself up.
Yeah.
And that creates opportunities.
Right.
That's what the goddamn world needs.
Yeah. That, and I also think people take themselves or take things too seriously. And that's a thing I think needs to change.
Do you think it's because the ego's involved?
I guess it's ego. I don't know, because I'm sure I have an online people that don't know me personally might see my online presence, whether it be on Facebook, like the beer groups, or even some of the stuff I post on Instagram, and they probably think I'm an asshole or a troll or whatever. And
take it too literal.
I probably am an asshole, but I mean I'm cool. But I mean, who's not an asshole in reality? But there's been certain times, like I guess it's been a couple years now, but it was the whole weight of pouring beer, like. I guess it's called the Iceman pour or whatever, but we started calling it around town. We started calling it surface tension or surface tension pours.
Okay.
And I was one of those, like, I don't know. One day somebody said something and they were getting offended and saying we're disrespecting beer and that's not how you pour beer. And my thing was, look, I'm doing it for a picture. It looks cool. I never said this is how you do things. I said if you grew up with any adult or any form of knowledge, you know how to you don't pour anything all the way to the rim of the glass. Nobody poured your milk as a kid all the way to the top. It's just for aesthetics. I mean, it's not that big a deal, and that's not disrespect. It's just for a photo. It's people taking things too seriously.
You know what? It's people feel too entitled these days.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah. Because of their reach, because of social media platforms. Yeah. They know that they can reach an audience that will listen, and then that in turn kind of creates this subconscious fucking path that they can fucking like that they can live this entitled, opinionated life. Right. But then they kind of forget about the fact that it's like there's other people out there who have different opinions.
Right.
And it's okay to fucking disagree.
It's okay to disagree. It's okay to be right. It's okay to be wrong. One of my big things that I live by is mind your business. Like, if I'm not hurting you, like, let me do what I want to do. Let me be happy. You know, we can have our disagreements. We can have our agreements. And I'm not going to get mad if you do something I don't like. I mean, that's you. You have nothing to do with me, you know, so... I shouldn't be triggered by what you're doing. Like if you're pouring
triggered, what a loaded term.
Right. I shouldn't be triggered or offended because you poured too much or too little beer in your cup. Who cares? Like, why does it matter? And
is it going to keep you up at night because some fucking person that you don't know is pouring in a way that you don't necessarily agree with?
Right. I mean, it's completely. I don't know. You're wasting too much time.
It's the idea of clickbait.
Yeah.
It's like if you can get a response out of something that's intriguing to a certain audience, then you're going to go in that direction because you know that you can, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, like, what's funny is when I started doing it, I didn't invent the way to pour things in beer. Like, that's been around. I just started doing it. And yeah, we might have, a few of us around town might have coined the surface tension pour or whatever, but it's nothing. I mean, we just did it because it looks cool. Like, I didn't have any intention when I did it, like, oh, I'm gonna trigger these people, so I'm gonna do it. Now, once I found out that I triggered some people, yeah, I might have pushed it a little bit further or trolled a little bit harder because
those are microaggressions, bro.
Yeah, I know, and I love.
It's not PC, bro.
When people take things too seriously, it's humorous to me, and then I might play on it, and I might do it a little more just to trigger those people a little more because just need to relax and lighten up and come meet me in person. Like, I'm not that bad of a guy. I mean, you know, we can talk and be cool, and you can drink beer, and I'll pour it properly if it offends you. You know, I mean.
And that's what's funny is that I would think that most of the issues that people are having, this whole quote unquote politically correct way of acting, this whole gender pronoun thing,
right.
these microaggressions, all these things,
right.
These can only be possible on a macro level because there's so many people to control or monitor the action. If we were a tribe of 150 people, this wouldn't happen. There wouldn't be microaggressions. There wouldn't be gender pronouns. There wouldn't be fucking, you know what I mean? It would not happen in that way.
Right.
It's only because there's 8 billion people plus in the world that everything gets out of hand, and there's a market for everyone that wants to speak their fucking word.
Yeah.
And people will tag along, which, I mean, is not a bad thing because I have a podcast. So I want a market. And I want people to tag along with what I'm saying. So I'm not trying to be a hypocrite when I'm saying. I'm trying to say that be open. You know, you don't have to agree with everything.
Right.
Some people are lactose intolerant. Don't drink fucking milk.
Right.
But that doesn't mean be angry at your neighbor who drinks fucking milk.
Yeah.
But nobody's bitching about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what, like, I have my opinions on things, whether it be political or on beer or on cigars. And, I mean, on my platforms, I might speak into them a little bit. But at the end of the day, and I hate saying that, by the way. I don't know why I just said
at the end of the day.
I think that's obnoxious and annoying.
Yeah.
But anyways.
It's another loaded statement or term.
Right. Yeah. I don't care. Like, it's my opinion, and I'm not going to force you to change your opinion to meet mine. We're all different, and I don't expect anybody to believe what I do. And if we do, then cool. Whether that be on beer or politics or anything.
Well, would you want everyone in your life that you normally hang out with to fucking share the same opinion on everything that you have an opinion on?
It would be boring, and I mean, honestly, other
robotic.
Other opinions have changed my outlook on certain things, whether it be something as insignificant as a sneaker or on politics. I mean, I thought one way, I think a different way now, and I mean, I think that's how we grow and that's how we be smarter and or how we become smarter. Yeah, and people need to relax and mind their business, and I think more people would get along that way.
Well, that's like what's that term they say, like you're a flip flopper or whatever because you stated publicly an opinion that you had previously, but then you changed that.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, oh, you mean that you grew?
Right.
There was growth.
Right.
Oh, that's a negative thing?
Exactly.
The fuck are you talking about?
Why is that a negative thing? Yeah, you thought about the issue and you changed your mind because you realized maybe I wasn't as smart on this issue at first or whatever. I mean, it's your choice.
And, okay, so, Jesus Christ, I'm getting fucking frustrated because there's so many fucking assholes that it just seems like, man, I wish that it was easier to kind of navigate your way through some of this shit, but it's not. You just got to sometimes pour a beer and smoke a cigar and figure out your shit.
Right.
But it's shit like this. It's exposure to things that is going to help everybody. It's exposure to things that's going to change things in a more progressive way. But,
right. And don't always look to be offended.
Yeah.
Not, I might say things. I'm not trying to offend anybody. It just is. I mean,
but don't you think most people that get offended, it's in their response or in their in the way that they've been offensed or whatever, it's on a personal level?
I totally agree.
It's because it's not because it's what society thinks is best. Their response is not necessarily what society thinks is best. It's because of how they feel offended or how they feel that they've been.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, whether how significant it is, there is an underlying issue with what they're getting offended by.
Like they're fucking fat and they want to lose weight, but they don't want to take the fucking time to lose weight.
Right.
Much like you who told me that you lost how much?
Yeah, I think it's been like 53 since October, and it's March now. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I've never been that type of person to have an excuse for that, for being overweight. Like, I mean, you know why you
Wait,
gained
hold
weight.
on. You're saying this is blasphemy. So what you're
Right.
saying is that you had control of your
I
life?
had control.
Holy shit.
I don't blame McDonald's. I don't
Holy
blame,
shit.
I don't blame Taco
Look,
Bell.
bro, I
don't-
can't do this anymore. I gotta
Right.
cut this shit off.
Exactly.
This is fucking
No,
blasphemy, bro.
I made the personal choice to give zero fucks and eat whatever the fuck I want at whatever time I want. And yeah, then okay, that's why you're overweight, right?
So
And
wait, you're saying that you're responsible for your previous health?
you are. Nobody else
Holy
is.
shit.
Nobody else. There's nobody
Anybody
to
that's
blame.
gonna listen, people are gonna have such problems with this, man.
People
Because it's
are-
not their fault. It's
People are
fucking
getting
McDonald's,
triggered.
dude.
People are getting triggered right now. Right.
Dude, this is
Yeah.
microaggressions.
Right.
This is fucking.
No.
Dude, people are triggered.
Yeah.
So
You
you're
don't
saying
need
is that you. So what you're saying is that you actually have control of your own life.
You do. You do. You don't have to go to
Holy
McDonald's. You don't have to
shit.
get the. Do they even do Biggie size anymore? I don't know. You don't have to get the Biggie size.
You know what they do now is they do a Big Mac and then they do a fucking small Big Mac for the people who
Right.
fucking care.
Yeah.
That's why.
Like today, a perfect example. I did all my. I go hiking now, whatever, walking in the woods casually, whatever people want to call it, whatever. But I felt like eating McDonald's, so I went to McDonald's and I got one McDouble and a small French fry. And that's plenty. I had the self-awareness and the self-responsibility to not go and get 3 McDoubles and a large fry and 10 nuggets, which I've probably done in the past.
Of course.
But I mean, I did it because I chose to do it. Nobody forced me to do it. Not the person taking my order. They don't give a shit what I order. It doesn't matter to them. So I ordered my 1 McDouble, my fries. That's like less than 600 calories, and it's fine. And I can manage that. And nobody else is responsible for how much weight I gained over the last 5 years, or even how much I'm losing. Like there might be some cases where somebody has some medical issue where you gain weight easy, or you have where you just gain weight. And no, I'm not trying to offend you, obviously, but most people, you know how to gain weight and you know how to lose weight. I chose over the last 4 years to not do any sort of physical activity. I'd sit around and just do what I do. And now I take at least 2 to 3 hours of my day to go outside and fucking walk around. I mean, and walk 4 or 5 miles in the at Eisenhower Park or whatever is what I usually go.
right.
And I mean, yeah, it's making a difference.
Do you feel that you getting out and kind of incorporating this physical activity in your life? Do you feel like it's creating a more positive outlook on your life? Because when you do physical activity and you do exert yourself, I don't know if you know this, but the chemicals that are responsible for your happiness and your mood regulation, dopamine and serotonin, are produced in your gut. And so the food that you're putting in your body, the quality of food you're putting in your body, the exercise that you're involving yourself in, are directly responsible for producing these chemicals. So
yeah, and it does make sense, because I mean, I guess I started trying to, I guess, limit my calorie intake in October, and I've only been doing the going outdoors thing I guess it's been in middle of January is when I started doing that. But I have noticed that, so before, I mean, after work, I would either go drink beer, go eat, and then go home and do nothing. On Sundays, I would basically stay home all day. Now, I'm always looking for a reason to not be home. After work, after I'm at the shop, I go to the park, I do whatever, I go eat, and I still want to go. I want to hang out. I want to be around friends.
just a way to incorporate some healthy activities in your life to balance it out, everything out.
On Sundays now, I'm never at home. I mean, I get up early on a Sunday, and I go, I'll go to the park, and then I'll go to Cheese May afterwards and have 3 margaritas and get pretty drunk off 3 margaritas, and then just have fun the whole day. Like, I don't know, just feel like I feel like I want to be doing things now versus just kind of being home and insecure, I guess.
Yeah, because you can't allow your fucking mind to sit here and dwell in what you're not doing that you think you should be doing. Which is so funny because, I mean, when you're sitting, when you're sitting at home and you have all these thoughts that are running through your mind about things that you could be doing, why do you think those thoughts are in your head?
Right.
Because you should
You
be
should be
doing
doing
you should be
them.
doing
Yeah.
them, right?
Yeah.
So if you take some time to balance out everything that you enjoy, whether it be healthy or not healthy, with supplementing something that's healthy
Right.
and beneficial to you as a fucking biological life form, which
Right.
is what we should be protecting in general, then you're contributing to a better future, a better life.
Right.
You're incorporating new things in your life. You're keeping your mind guessing. You're keeping your body guessing. You're keeping your growth that's
Right.
going to continue on, which is in my ways, if I was going to sit down at the end of the day and drink a delicious beer like this, fucking Pussy Wagon,
Yeah.
it's a great beer. I feel so much better about drinking this beer after I know that I gave my body what it needs
Right.
before I did that.
Right.
You know?
Right. Just versus being a piece of shit all day and then sitting around and drinking beer and being a bigger piece of shit. I mean,
Fuck.
yeah.
It's truth right there.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you feel like you deserve it. Yeah, I hiked 5 miles today, and yeah, I'm gonna
Fuck
go.
yeah.
I'm gonna go to McDonald's, and of course, McDonald's, whatever. It's just like anything in moderation is fine. I can go and I can eat a burger and some fries, and then I can smoke a cigar and drink a beer, and it's not gonna be overall. I mean, I guess detrimental to my health. I mean, if you're doing it right, then you should be okay. Not sitting around all day playing video games and eating 3,000 calories of Whataburger at 2 a.m. Yeah, then there's issues there, and there's no excuse.
And we've all done that.
There's no excuse, and there's nobody to blame but yourself. And I can speak from experience.
Are you a cigar smoker every day?
No, I go through phases. There's days where I'll smoke 1 cigar a day. There's days where I'll smoke 5. There's days or there's a month where I won't smoke. I smoke
Yeah.
when I feel like it. Just
Okay.
like I drink when I feel like it. Or I guess those are the two main things that I do when I feel like drinking and smoking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then you are basically self-analytical enough to kind of structure these habits. I hate to say the word habit too, because that's kind of a loaded term. Because
Right.
it's not. I just don't. I mean, for lack of a better term, a habit. Because when we talk about eating, we don't say, "Oh, I have this habit of eating."
Right, but you eat every fucking day.
Yeah, it's like it's
Right.
It's kind of a loaded term, but for lack of a better term, I just
Addiction, maybe?
well, I mean, I would even say smoking cigars is an addiction.
No, it shouldn't be. But I do feel like
If you're cognizant
is.
of it and,
Right.
and you know, like if you're cognizant of something that you enjoy, then it's much of the term that
Right.
you already brought up, moderation, whatever.
Right.
That is something. If you're cognizant of that, then it's healthy.
Right.
With beers or cigars or whatever you do, whatever is kind of your vice in life, if you're cognizant of that and you're aware of it, then fuck, man. Like, you can incorporate that in your life in a healthy way.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, and there are those cigar smokers that smoke 5 to 8 to maybe even 10 cigars a day. And yeah, maybe that's some sort of addiction. That's a good customer at the same time. So by all means. But at the
So
same time,
keep coming back.
right, please keep coming back.
Cigar
But,
Point,
I mean,
604
to
in
me,
Blanco.
like, with cigar smoking, I feel like you're missing the point of smoking a cigar. Like, yeah, it becomes the negative sense, it becomes a habit. It becomes an addiction. Like, if I'm smoking a cigar and then I go to light one right after the other, to me, you're not gonna appreciate it. And there are guys that'll sit here and smoke 5 cigars in a row, and to me, like, I don't know, I just can't do it. Like, we have a cigar convention for retailers every year. It's called IPCPR, and it's usually in Vegas. And those days, I think I've lit up maybe 15 cigars in one day.
In one day.
Yeah, didn't smoke them all, but you light them up and you taste them.
Right.
But by
Okay.
the end of the day, I mean, your palate's gone. Your mouth hurts. Like, it's not gonna taste right. You're not gonna appreciate it. But I mean, you're kind of there in the moment and you're having fun with all the guys in the industry. And yeah, I guess just like in any industry, you have your, I don't know what you want to call them stars or whatever. And yeah, you get to hang out with one of the guys that owns this cigar company, and you think they're cool, and so yeah, you hang out with them and you smoke, and you realize that, hey, they're just like you. They're not nobody special, and you just hang out and smoke, and you keep smoking, and it's whatever. And then there's days where you can still hang out and you don't have to smoke.
Yeah, well, I mean, so these cigar conventions, is it something that have you ever actually, I mean, I don't know too much on the topic about this, but you personally rolling your own cigars, or is that something that you've ever been interested in doing or you've done?
No, I don't have interest in it.
You just like appreciating other people's,
right? Just like home brewing, like that doesn't interest me. I don't have time. I don't drink enough to. I just want to drink a good beer. I just want to smoke a good cigar.
Yeah.
There are people that specialize in these things in Miami, which is has a big cigar community, in Nicaragua and in Dominican Republic. Like, these guys can buy the best tobacco. These guys can grow the best tobacco. So anything that comes to San Antonio, if I could get my hands on some, raw cigar tobacco, it's going to be the tobacco that nobody wanted, and then I'm going to try to do something with it. And it's just not going to be, to me, it's just not going to be worth it. I just smoke something good.
How is tobacco taxed in relation to alcohol? Is it the same kind of...
Tobacco is heavily taxed.
Yeah.
And this is seen before it gets to me at the retail.
Right.
But the cigar tobacco is taxed over 50%.
Jesus.
It's called the S-chip tax or something. Like, I think it's at 53%. So, that is just, to me, that is just shown as wholesale price. But the manufacturers they're dealing with that.
That's included.
That's included in the.
Right.
I mean, that's just the price. So then you take that, and then that's how you make your MSRPs. And then each state has their own tobacco taxes, and Texas is pretty low. Texas is 0.011 cents per cigar, and they have to do that every month. So every month,
0.001%.
0.011 cents per stick.
So is that 1.1?
So it's like 1 penny
cents on the dollar.
It's like 1 penny.
It's 1 penny on the dollar,
basically.
Well, that's not really shit then.
So Texas state for premium cigar tax is pretty low. So like on a box of 25, I mean, I'm paying 25 cents.
Right.
Whereas some states like Arkansas, I believe their tax is like 50% of wholesale. So like if I buy a cigar, like let's say it costs me $10, that tax is $5. So then that $10 cigar becomes 15, which then they're going to turn around and sell it for, let's just go with 30.
Right.
Versus me, that cigar, I might get it for 10. The tax, I don't even have to turn that around because that's a penny. So then I might sell that for under $20.
Oh, so that.
And Alaska's
so you're in a good spot for that.
For now.
For now.
I think everybody's looking to raise taxes on everything. So who knows how long that'll stay, but.
Is there something in the future that's might change that? Or
the FDA is starting to regulate the premium cigar industry, which is going to probably.
Is it because of fucking profit?
I don't know. I don't want that might get too political.
I'm just saying, like much of the government does. When they see the money's involved, they're like, oh, maybe we should dip our fucking hand. Oh, and we're gonna take a picture with that fucking beautiful shirt you're wearing. So everyone that doesn't know what Gabe was just pointing at, he was pointing at this fucking beautiful shirt he is fucking wearing. Taxation is theft. And you'll see it. This is the picture. In fact, we're going to make sure that this shirt is very aware for everyone to see now that he's pointed it out. The government. Woo!
I don't want to speak too much on that because, people have their opinions and whatever. But, yeah, at the end of the day, I said that again. Shit. But... yeah, I mean, tax everybody. To me, everybody. Let's make this okay. We can tax it, just like marijuana. Let's make marijuana legal. Don't worry, we can tax it. I mean, why does it have to be taxed?
Why can't we just appreciate it and
enjoy it?
Why can't we just appreciate it and then open it up as a different genre of the fucking market? Why does it have to be? Why does it have to have special regulations because it's marijuana or it's tobacco or it's alcohol? Like, it's just another thing, like fucking shoes or the fucking like Jordans or fucking T-shirts or fucking cars. Why does it have to be? Why does it have to have some kind of special tax on it because it's another? The only reason why the government jumps on these things is because it's a trend.
Right.
Which is much of what marketing is.
Right.
You know, we've created this society, this capitalism, this democracy that we can jump on and we can overprice things because there's a market for it. But that's just people being fucking greedy and pieces of shit.
Yeah.
It's a fucking
Everybody
leaf.
wants their piece
It's
of
a
the pie.
plant.
Yeah.
You know, you can relate. I mean, if there is a market for premium cigars, and there is a market for people who appreciate premium cigars as a part of their life, much like people who smoke weed. And weed's a fucking nether story, man,
Right.
because that has medicinal properties
Right.
that the government's trying to fucking keep us from consuming because of opiates and
Right.
big pharma and shit. We're not going to get into
You
that.
guys should take the time and Google health benefits of tobacco, because there
Yeah?
are some, and don't get triggered. There are some health.
No, get triggered. And then fucking look it up. And then after you find out what Gabe's trying to tell us, I want you to look in the mirror, and I want you to take your fist, and I want you to smash it right in your face. Just smash it right in your face.
That's what I mean. You think like a cigar is taxed at least 3 times before you, the end consumer, have it. You have your initial S-chip tax, then you have your state tax, and then you have your sales tax. That's a lot of tax, man.
So wait, it goes through not only federal but state taxes as well
Federal,
on
state, and then sales. Yeah,
Jesus fucking Christ.
yeah. That's our society.
Well,
We need roads, right?
no, yeah, we need more road. You know, oh, I'm glad you said that. Let me tell you a little story here. Here's a nice little story, a little bedtime story to tell your children when they're going to sleep. So by my house, there was this sort of, functional road that was used to get from one busy street to the next, much like most neighborhoods. But most people who travel on this road are people who live in the neighborhood there, or people who are trying to get from a busy road to the next road. And for the longest time, they didn't have sort of this drainage system for heavy rain, which that doesn't happen too often in Texas, or especially in San Antonio where we are. It happens sometimes, more now with the environmental changes that are happening. But
Right.
so they rebuilt the road, which was fine in general. You know, it was totally good before, but they rebuilt the road. And then they put these little drainage systems, 2 drainage systems in probably I would say a 3/4 of a mile distance of a road. But these 2 drainage systems with what do you call them? The little metal. Goddamn, the little wooden posts with the metal grid. The metal. What the fuck I'm drawing a fucking blank right now. It's like what you see on the highway when they have like the metal posts and there's just to keep you from driving off the highway. There's like these barricade. It's a metal barrier. It's a metal barricade from keeping you from slamming into the fucking barricade and driving into a ditch. Right. It's a barricade. Which is so funny because before they had that barricade there and that ditch there, no one was fucking driving off the fucking road.
Right.
But then as soon as they put that fucking barricade there with the ditch, not even a week after, somebody slammed into that fucking barricade and just annihilated it and fucking, drove into the ditch.
Of course.
It's like the Field of Dreams shit. You build it, they will come,
Yeah,
it's
man.
like
I don't...
they fucking and I don't, that's we can dive into that psychologically, whatever, but it's like there's a lot of things that our government is passing. There's a lot of things that society is enforcing that doesn't need to be there. It's just because it benefits certain people
Yeah,
to be there.
I agree.
Nobody slammed into a fucking ditch before they put that there. And now I've seen several people slam into a fucking ditch.
Right.
It's like a fucking, it's like a, you know, like a matador and a bull. The bull's not charging the dude, you know, if the dude's not in there with the fucking flag enticing him. Well, it's there now. So, hey, let's get drunk and slam into this fucking metal fucking barricade.
Yeah.
And now it's fucking there.
Right.
And so it's a, if you want a metaphor for life, that's it right there.
Yeah.
Don't. The government should take a fucking lesson from this right here, from the people that, you know, that are living it.
Yeah.
There's no fucking point.
Right.
Most of the shit that we do most of the shit that the government does or the people do is in some way to monetize it.
Right.
And to create a market and create a profit, which is good, which does progress the society and does create growth. Awesome. But some of you fucking assholes are creating targets.
They are.
And sometimes we just need to fucking sit back and drink a good beer and smoke a fucking cigar before you make that decision.
Right. Just like, I mean, something as stupid as Cuban cigars, right? So Cuban cigars, we have a trade embargo with Cuba, so they're illegal. So just because they're illegal, everybody wants them. Everybody thinks they're better.
Exactly.
No, they're not. They're good. They're good just like any other tobacco.
It's because you can't get them. You're not supposed to have them.
Right. You can't. Just like drugs, weed. I don't know. Like, it's illegal, so it's obviously cool. So I'm gonna want to do it. Versus if it was just around and it's not. I mean, yeah, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. And when you grow up in whether it be public school or with parents or with grandparents or somebody, you know the difference between right and wrong and excess, and you should be able to make those choices for yourself and not hurt other people at the same time. Maybe that's oversimplification? I don't know.
If only everybody thought like you, Gabe, then we'd all be better off with your beautiful T-shirt and you're fucking walking around with your cigars and your beers and you're getting your good coffee.
And you're not on 1604 on the passing lane going 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, you're in a fucking...
Move over, go the speed limit, stay out of the passing lane. It's simple. It's common courtesy, and it's also, for what it's worth, it is the law, right? Like, those people that cause traffic on 1604 or anywhere, it's move over, go the speed limit, and everything would be fine. Everything would move smoothly. But no, you cause me to get aggressive while I drive, and maybe, I'm going to cut the guy off going 55 miles an hour on the passing lane.
All you fucking assholes getting complacent about life, listen to Gabe. All right, Gabe, we're going to cut this off.
All right,
man, thank you so much for doing this. If there's anything you want to throw out there, let people know about the location, about the shop, about maybe if you want to throw out the Instagram, whatever you want to do, just let people know.
The shop is at the intersection of Blanco and Huebner. I'm here 95% of the time.
1604 and
1604 Blanco. It's about a mile north of 1604. I'm here 95% of the time. Come say hi, smoke a cigar, talk about cigars, bring a beer, bring whatever. We can hang. You'll probably see me around too.
Thanks so much for